So today we'll be looking at the second chapter's 9th verse. We left off at the 8th verse, no, where Arjuna had first in the 8th verse he had stated that he wanted the counsel of Krishna and he wanted him to advise him on the method of dealing with his feelings and how he should actually act. And finally he concluded that as of now that I am not able to see any solution to this, he says. So he's quite wonderstruck whether there is any solution. That means, I mean, even though he's asking Krishna, he's still restating the fact that he does not see any way out of this except like quitting this war. Now, Sanjaya speaks to Dhritarashtra and he tells him what is happening here. So Sanjaya uvacha evam uktva rishikesham gudakesha parantapaha न योत्स्य इति गोविंदम उक्त्वा तूष्णीम बभूवः. Sanjaya tells Dhritarashtra, Arjuna has spoken these words. Obviously, he must have been narrating everything that Arjuna was telling. And in return, whatever else was said, like few words were said by Krishna also, he would have been narrating everything. And so Arjuna and Krishna's dialogue is quite known to Dhritarashtra. So he just proceeds telling him, so saying, eva muktva means so saying. Then Gudakesha means Arjuna tells Rishikesha. After having said these words to Rishikesha, this Parantapa says, I will not fight. And he just sits and he says, he just be quiet. He stopped talking. Na yotsya iti govindam. Na yotsya means I will not fight. That's all. And then he became silent. He stopped talking. These are the words that Sanjaya told to Dhritarashtra. But here there are three name words, like names. One is Rishikesha, one is Gudakesha, and one is Parantapa. So this Parantapa is the adjective for Gudakesha. And Gudakesha means one who has won over sleep. Human beings, they need sleep to function properly. So if anyone can do without sleep for days on end, then they can be called as a person who has won over sleep. That was the thing that Arjuna had with him. He did not require sleep to get recharged for the next day. That kind of, so much of abilities Arjuna has, and yet he does not know how to direct his mind, what he should do. And not only that, he was not having any need for sleep, and that shows his abilities of strength of his body and his mental states also. At the same time, he is not a coward because he's called as Parantapa. Parantapa means who is very well versed in the method of fighting and has won many wars. And he tells Rishikesha. Rishikesha means it is for Krishna. So why is Krishna called as Rishikesha? He is called as Rishikesha because he is the controller of the Indriyas. When you chant Vishnu Sahasranama or any other stokas, you come across this word for Vishnu. So means he is the controller of the organs of the body. Whatever we say or talk or say, do things, that has that is being done through the control of a superior intelligent power, and that power is whom we call as God. And here he is directly being referred to as that person who controls the Indriyas, Rishikesha. So here these are the words, means in other words, this Krishna is being addressed as Rishikesha by Arjuna. So these have lot of implications which we have to think about. Why he addressed him as Rishikesha? When there are 1,100 names for Krishna, he addressed him as Rishikesha. So these are the things that put a lot of meaning into the verses, which you have to come back and contemplate on. Because Gita is not just some kind of a story. a narration. It is more to do with the philosophy of life. What is life? What are all these people doing here? These are the questions that we always come across. Why do we have this kind of body, and why we have all the necessities? Like so many people out in the world don't have a house or a head, something where they can sleep also. Even if they have a place in the pavement, that itself is great for some people. If they have some kind of shawl or something which they can cover themselves, that is also something which they are feeling fortunate about. Why this kind of disparity? These are things that if you sit down and start to think about the world and how it functions, then you start wondering about who is behind all this. How is it that these things keep happening? What is the cause for all this? So, for that, this philosophy of the Gita tells us what it is about, what is life, and what are these, we have bodies, and there's a body and a soul. The difference is being explained here. What is the body and who is the soul? Is the body permanent or is the soul permanent? What is it? So this abidingness of that I, which we see from our childhood or from the baby till the person is as old, I mean, as they live, as long as they live, they have one I-ness in them, which is not related to the body. The body is first a baby, then it grows and becomes old, and everything. We are seeing that the change is happening in the body. But that person who experiences all these changes is not different. When I was a boy or when I was a girl, I did this, we say. Then when I was a young lady, I was doing this. That is when you approach people who have gone through these stages of life, they will always tell you that they don't feel that it is not them who were that girl or who was that young lady or who was that middle-aged woman. They have gone through all this. If you ask your grandmother, she will be able to tell you. The body has been changing. We know because we look at the photos. And through our own experience of our own bodies, we know that. So these are the philosophical concepts that Krishna is about to explain. I'm just giving you a idea of what he is going to say. So now Krishna tells him in the next verse that your grief itself is misplaced. So he is outrightly challenging Arjuna that why are you grieving? So that is the next verse. Before that, what is the narration is told by Sanjay only, 2 verses. So he says, Tamuvacha Rishikeshaha Prahasaniva Bharata Senayor Ubhayor Madhye Vishidantam Idam Vachaha. This Lord, who was not even moved by all this talk by Arjuna, his woebegone face or his the deluded mind or his even the body, he was able to see that he was feeling weak. And he was not at all moved by that. He gently smiled at Arjuna. And he looked at Arjuna and started speaking. And this event happened right there because we just know that Krishna was asked by Arjuna to take him closer to the enemy army so that he could see whom he is going to fight against. Even though he knew he wanted to see. So Arjuna directly was placed right in front of the chariots of Bhishma and Drona, in the middle of the center of the armies. So Arjuna could clearly see all these people. After that, he started his lamentations. And then still that same place the chariot is, and in the same place, Krishna speaks to Arjuna. So what is told is that Krishna spoke to Arjuna for some 10 or 15 minutes, by which time he was able to convince Arjuna about what he was thinking and why it was wrong and how he should change his decisions. But for the benefit of the mankind, Vedavyasa, who is the composer of the Itihasa called Mahabharata, even though Mahabharata is called as Itihasa, means it is something which happened, but which happened also is written down. So those notes which have been written down by Vedavyasa were long. So they made it very big and they made it very expanded. He made it very expanded so that other people can answer. I mean, they'll find answers to their questions in this book. in this part of the Mahabharata where the Bhagavad Gita is placed. So questions, answers, and then topics, different topics, all these are dealt with here. Though it might not have taken 18 chapters to explain it to Arjuna, because to just go through these 18 chapters without even thinking about the meaning, for us to just chant it, it takes around 2 hours or 2.5 hours. So that kind of time is obviously not available when the war is about to begin. So he might not have needed that much time. He might have told it to him in a short while. But for the sake of the understanding of the future people, they have made it elongated and in a manner that can be understood by others. So now Krishna is smiling and he is speaking. So that means he is not emotionally involved in any of these banters of Arjuna. He is completely aloof and he is looking at him from the point of view of a bystander. He does not have any interest in that. So he is able to judge Arjuna's emotions and he is able to advise him very correctly. So what does he say? That is the verse we have to see today. That is the verse we have to see today means it is the beginning of the philosophy. That's what I meant to say, because we have already seen two verses. So the philosophy of the Gita begins here from the chapter 2, verse number 11. And Acharya Madhva started his commentary from this verse onwards, because this is the main verse from which the philosophy begins. So Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. So here in the Bhagavad Gita, we notice that everywhere when Krishna speaks, it doesn't say Krishna Uvacha. He says Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Because as I already told you before about what is the meaning of the term Bhagavan. So that Bhagavan has to be understood properly and it should be in that light, you have to judge what he's saying. Bhagwan means one who knows much more than anyone else. He knows everything that is there to be known. That is the definition of the word Bhagavan was given as Jnana, who is complete in Jnana, who knows everything that is there to be known from time immemorial to future anytime, infinite time and infinite places, because he exists in all these places, and because he exists, those things exist. So these are all the things that Bhagwan Shabda itself tells. So he has the authority to say what he's saying. That is what I want to highlight here. He says, Ashocyan anvashochastvam prajna vadamscha bhashase gatasuna gatasuncha nanushochanti panditaha. So he's saying, Arjuna, you are grieving for those who are not worthy of grief. And you're just rationalizing your grief. So this is a very surprising thing. He does not address any of the objections put forward by Arjuna, saying that the Kula Nasha will happen, there will be lot of loss of people. All these things he is not addressing. He is only telling why he is crying. Arjuna is feeling that despondency because he is going to lose his grandsire and teacher and many other people in the world. So he says, you are grieving for those who are not worthy of grief. So this is, and you're speaking words that appear to be wisdom, apparent words of wisdom, he says. Prajnavadam is a word that tells that he is speaking words which seem like as if they are really very true and potent in justifying his viewpoint. But actually it's not. You're talking words as if it's coming from a wise person, but actually it's very unwise, he says. Then gatasun agatasuncha nanu shochanti panditaha. So he says a wise person is pandita. A wise person will not grieve for the living or the dead, he says. Why would a wise person want to grieve for the living is our question. But that is what Krishna says. So what is the explanation for that? The wise person does not grieve for the living or the dead, because the living or the dead person, both of them are living still. The soul is still living. Whether the body is dead or the body is alive, the soul is living. That is what he wants to highlight. And he explains that in the coming verses about the difference between the soul and the body. The body is perishable. Any one day it is going to die. Any one day it will be gone. but the soul is always there. So that is what he wants to put forward, his theory. But right now he gives him a very shocking kind of statement, saying that why are you grieving for those who are not worthy of grief? So that might give an objection. Why should I not grieve for my grandfather? But that is the thing. He says that who is your grandfather? That is what is going to come later on. But I am just giving it to you as a introduction, what it is actually coming in the front. So now we understand that he is grieving for something which is not worthy of grief. And if living are there, you don't grieve. If they're dead, also you don't grieve, because the jiva is going to be immortal. That's what is going to be told now. So in this, it is just an introduction of that philosophy, saying that you should not grieve, because the wise man will not grieve for either the dead or the living, he says. So this is a little bit very tough to understand, and even to explain it in a way that is satisfactory. So I may be repeating myself, but the thing is, you don't feel satisfied that you have got across your point. So we have to sometimes say it again and again. And it doesn't matter. In the future, like next few verses, we will be getting more information about why he said this. Right now, in this verse, there's no reason given. He only tells him that you are doing something like this, but he does not give him the reason. The reason is going to be explained coming verses. So that we'll be seeing in the next time when we meet.